Thank you for listening to the podcast and allowing me to share these incredible stories. You can hear new stories every week on Amazon Music and ad-free for Amazon Prime members. I'm Benjamin Hall, and I'm searching for heroes.
Well, our guest today is Amanda Boxtel, and Amanda, and I have gone through, life-changing injuries. And one of the reasons I think her story is so powerful is because that she mirrors in many ways my own recovery. The things she had to go through are the same things that I'm going through now. Some of the difficulties she faced are the same difficulties I'm currently facing. Amanda is paralyzed. She had a freak skiing accident back in 1992, permanent spinal cord injury from the pelvis down. And it took her a long time to be operational again, to be moving again in a wheelchair. But she didn't stop there. She then went on and became the first person in America to start using an exoskeleton. And she was one of the first people to trial those. And then she set up this incredible group called Bridging Bionics that now helps countless people who have similar terrible paralysis and TBIs and brain injuries, and helping them learn to walk, helping them to use exoskeletons. And hearing her talk today is amazing because she talks about hope, community, hard work as well, and really what resilience is. And she talks about them in a way that I connect with a lot. So I hope you enjoy today's story. It is both about Amanda and all the amazing people that she helps, but in some ways it's about my own journey as well. So I hope you enjoy this today. And here it is. Amanda, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a great pleasure to have you on the podcast. And one of the reasons is that I think we share, quite a lot in common. We both had these kind of physical injuries, and we almost woke up one day and we realized that we had to get through them to get back to living, get back to the normal life. And that's why I'm so interested to talk to you about. It's about your journey, how you got through that. But again, now more importantly, how you're using that to help so many other people. And that to me is a real sign of heroism. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Well, thank you. The pleasure's mine. And it's actually quite an honor. I'm very, very grateful.
That's too kind of you. Amanda, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to go straight back to where this started. And I wondered if you could just start off telling us about your own accident, about what happened to you that left you paralyzed.
I was 24 years old. And, I always... In my youth, I was an athlete. I was a dancer. I was the athletics captain of my school, a runner, a long jumper. I loved to twirl in space and feel a long skirt swish around my ankles. And I felt invincible. And I think as children and in our youth, a lot of us, we feel invincible. And that somehow stuck with me. You talk a lot about resilience. My father died when I was 13. He committed suicide. And I think that was a part of my strength and that feeling of just resiliency and makeup of just steel.
Can I say, before we even get in then to your accident, how at the age of 13, and that obviously was a huge surprise to you. What were you thinking at that young age? How did you deal with that? How quickly did you decide to move forward, or did that really hinder you?
It's an interesting question, and I've thought about it a lot in my adult years because I think it really was a part of my makeup. And I think to help me somehow deal with adversity on a different level and in the physicality, dealing with grief and suicide and loss at such a young age, I had to somehow find a way to move forward and to navigate teenage years and sometimes cruelty from others at school and the just difficulty behind that and the confusion. But I do feel that I went on to become a leader in my school despite that. And for some reason, I just have that makeup within me to push through and to go into the fire and to come out on the other side.
Well, that's true, because when you're 13, you just talked about cruelty at school. And first of all, I'm absolutely amazed at the idea that when something terrible happens to someone, there are people who will use that against them. I mean, it seems so cruel that people would do that. But you that could have broken some people, but you turned around and you were saying earlier all the incredible things you did at school. So do you think that you were then born with the resilience? Because other people, particularly 13-year-olds, wouldn't have been able to do that. So did you have that in you, or did you learn that at that age?
I think life experience helps us learn. I think we're all born pure and innocent, and through our adversities and whatever happens to us, I had a little bit of a difficult childhood. There was some, I would say, emotional abuse there, and but my father always said, a Boxtel always tries his hardest, and I think that I always pushed myself to do that, and to be my best, and that somehow became a part of me as I grew into my adult years. But I think the challenges and the adversities that I dealt with as a child set me up, I think, for dealing with harder things in my life. And it's taken many years, Ben, for me to turn my wounds, mental and physical, into wisdom, and for me to somehow remove my self-imposed limitations so that I could live a rich and full life, and to really understand. In fact, it's taken me 32 years of paralysis for me to understand the power and the dance of acceptance and hope, and that those two things must coexist. And we can talk about that, and I can talk about my accident and what happened and what brought me here today.
But acceptance and hope, and I feel you 100%. I had to come to terms with both of those two things after my accident, so I know exactly what you're saying. Accept it and know and hope that things will get better, and fight for them to do so. Yes, let's talk, if we could, about your accident as well. Yes.
So I was 24 years old, and I still had that feeling of being invincible and that I could do anything. I went up on the chairlift in Snowmass Village, on a Snowmass mountain, and I had this weird premonition and this sensation that came over me that I had no business being on the mountain that day. I can't explain it to this day. I got off the chairlift and I was shaking. I was trembling, and two people tapped me on my shoulder and asked me if I was okay. And I looked at them and I said, yes, I'm fine, but I just need to get off the mountain. And in order to remain visible, I skied purposefully underneath the chairlift, and I stopped in the flats again, and I looked out at the view as though I was looking for the last time. I felt that. I remember it clearly. And then I took off again, and I crossed my tips. I did a somersault. I landed on my back. An electric current shattered through my whole body, and it was as if someone turned off the light switch and there was nothing. I shattered 4 vertebrae in a split second, T10, 11, 12, and L1, and there was nothing. There was no movement or sensation below my pelvis. I was paralyzed. I was winded. all I could do was call. I called for help as if to signify the emergency of the situation. A man in a neon orange ski suit said that they had called for ski patrol. Ski patrol came and they uncrumpled my body, held my head and looked into my eyes. And they asked me what my name was, where I lived, how many fingers do you have up? I said 3. How many now? 4. And I can remember saying, I can't move my legs. I can't feel. I can't move my legs.
No pain. No pain.
Nothing. And they took me down on a toboggan, and I was flown on a flight for life to St. Anthony's Hospital in Denver. And it was a couple of weeks later that a young doctor, his face seemed younger than mine, he strode into my hospital room and he delivered the news. And he said, "Amanda, you'll never walk again." And as if he said, to shed light on the situation, he said, "But you can still have children." It's like, who cares? Who cares? Those words resounded in every cell of my body. And I became determined to prove him wrong, to prove the doctor, myself, God, wrong, that I was going to walk out of those hospital doors. And in 32 years later, I'm still sitting. I'm sitting in front of you. But I can honestly say that I really love my life. And I feel like, having gone through it, that I'm a more beautiful woman. I think there's beauty in our brokenness. And through navigating trauma and adversity and peeling off those layers like an onion, I've exposed the raw beauty of myself. And it's been a journey of growth.
We'll be back in a moment with Searching for Heroes.
It's funny because you tell this story and you are emotional telling it. You are crying while you tell it. And I suppose one of the things before we were speaking is I was thinking, after, decades, whether you come to terms and accept that, or whether it continues to be painful every time you think about it. And I wonder, you've done amazing things, but do you still feel that pain? Do you feel loss? You've said that the mountain has robbed you. You've said that. Do you still feel loss now, or do you think that it was destined to be this way?
Both. I feel part of it is destined to be this way, but loss of mobility it's grief. And when I talk about acceptance and hope in that dance, my acceptance, it took me 5 years, and you were injured on March 14th, 2022, and it's still very recent for you. And I wondered about that, about you and your mental process and your own dealings with adversity and overcoming. For me, I remember clearly, Ben, that it took me 5 years to arrive at that place of acceptance. And that it's not that I lived in false hope, but it's like I was so determined to walk again and to overcome that I wasn't allowing myself to really be here right now, present in this moment. And I found that my acceptance, and I still struggle with acceptance, in that this is an injury that keeps on giving, in the sense that it's still difficult and hard, and in so many respects. But if I bring my acceptance back to right here, right now, that frees me to be hopeful for what the next moment might bring. It's really important to have something to look forward to and to be hopeful for. But if it's right here, right now, then I can somehow wrap my mind around it and come to grips and to terms with it, and to find joy in the moment and love and appreciation. And my acceptance really comes back to gratitude. And that's great. I'm grateful for all that I have.
Yeah, it's funny. I think about my own recovery as well, and I'm well aware that I go through different chapters, and I'm still in an early chapter. And getting out of the hospital was one chapter. Then learning how to have my injuries in the real world, I think, is still the chapter I'm in. Sometimes still in the morning when you wake up and you don't quite realize, your mind hasn't realized the injuries, and then that moment where you suddenly remember it. That's still a chapter I'm in right now too. Oh, boom, all these things I know I'm going to have to do today, where for a split second in the morning, I wasn't aware of them. And so there's still sometimes this process of getting through things. And I know there's some things I will have to do every single day that are hard, to crawl around, to do things like that. And I'm still in that chapter of getting used to having to do those, that they don't become easy. They will never be easy, but they are slowly becoming a part of my routine. And at some, and I've got a question for you. I wondered whether they're part of my routine, whether or not that routine just becomes totally normal, or whether you constantly think, oh, I'm crawling, oh, I'm doing this again, oh, I'm crawling, I'm having to do something that I didn't have to do. Do you still feel that way?
Yes, I do. And I'm 32 years into this, and I'll still curse. And there's no other words in this world that that are more significant than, the F word, or, when I'm just like in the depths of it, of the deepest abyss of adversity and struggle. And it's like, damn, and it's, I dream still that I'm walking, Ben. Do you dream that what is whole? I mean, what is normal and what is whole? And we're in our new normals, right? But do you dream that your body that you have a right leg, that you have a left foot, that you have your vision? Do you dream that?
No, just for the first time, just a couple of weeks ago, I had my first dream where I was in my prosthetics and walking with my prosthetics. That just happened. Up until a couple of weeks ago, in my dreams, I was still walking with my legs, and it just happened that I'm now in prosthetics in my dreams. So that was a big moment for me. I was like, wow, I just dreamt about being in prosthetics, and I felt it was quite a big moment for me. I thought, oh, maybe the mind is now moving forward, and it's accepted that in a way I hadn't before. So
it's fascinating. I mean, I still dream that I'm walking and that I'm running and that I'm dancing and I'm leaping and I'm flying. And I wonder what that, maybe you could get a psychologist.
But perhaps you are. And throughout your life, you are still leaping and dancing and doing wonderful things. And I think that's what you got to focus on. That's not physical. You can leap by helping other people. You can dance by being in wonderful surroundings, surrounded by amazing people. Like, those are the greatness things that we have to enjoy.
Exactly. And I think our physicality is our human spirit knows no limitation, right? And so ultimately, that's what we are. And I feel, and it's our physicality. I've just figured out how to navigate the world in a different way. I'm a better skier now than I ever was before. And I can walk, but I walk in a robot. How cool is that? And that we're era where, technology and human ingenuity is really helping us propel and forward and live our best lives imaginable. And that you have a prosthetic, but the exoskeleton, I think, is the most complicated prosthetic ever imagined. And look what we can do and the potential. So, yeah, I'm grateful to be living in this day and age.
And I want to get onto the exoskeleton a little bit, but I also just want to ask then, also from a personal basis, was there a point at which, I go out and every single person watches you, and I don't mind that, it's fine, but you stand out. And I wonder if there was a point at which sometimes you think, I just wish I was more discreet. I just wish not everyone was watching all the time. Which, sometimes you think you're just having a bad day and you're like, I just wish everyone wasn't watching right now. Do you still get that?
Oh, yes, all the time, all the time. And, people, I feel like I've had to, in my journey, I've had to arrive at a place of, empowering others and coming from that place of leading from behind, in the sense that I can be a visual, a role model, as much as I don't want to be, and people want to help you. And in the first few years of my paralysis and living in a wheelchair, I was just so stubborn. And I still am. I call it tenacious. It's a little nicer than stubborn, but that's helped me endure, right? And to get on with life. But I feel like having people help me, I push them away. And now it's like, yes, sure, I'll accept that. I'll take it. And people often don't listen. They want to, and they'll say, no. And they push you anyway. And it's like, oh, okay. But yeah, it's, again, a dance, a balance of dealing but I often think of, we have a lot of people in our program who have traumatic brain injuries, or, a disability that is often a hidden disability, visual losing sight.
Yeah.
You would know that. It's like, so often people, if there's a hidden disability, it's even more challenging, I feel.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Rather than people just looking at you, then it's like, well, then if you've got a traumatic brain injury, or it's like people might think, well, what's wrong with you? When we all have our challenges, and it's all relative. And that's what I've learned. It's relative. It's like we just deal with it the best way we know how.
Yeah. And, you went on, though. Many people are paralyzed. Terrible. Many people are paralyzed. But you were the first one to go out to get this bionic exoskeleton. So there was something else in you, that pushed you. And that I really want to figure out what gave you the desire to go and do more, to give back, to help other people. And that's become the reason what you kind of live for, is helping other people. So why are you different? Why did you have that push?
I think it's through the graciousness of other people helping me and encouraging me, and my community, and giving back to me, and the love and the support and the selflessness of others. They're the heroes. My best friend is my biggest hero, who's just truly selfless and humble, will do anything to help. And it's in serving others that I've discovered that's the true gift. It's the true gift to myself is through helping others and seeing them grow.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about Bridging Bionics, and tell us how that started, what it does.
It's giving the gift of mobility to others. And Bridging Bionics was founded and born out of need. I needed to move my body. I need help moving my body. When we sit, we begin to die. We need to move and to stand up. And it's up to me and nobody else. I have to find it within myself to move. And if I just am at home, I'll spiral down into a downward depression. And movement creates these endorphins, and it creates hope and positivity. And that's what I see in our athletes. Once an athlete, always an athlete. We're not patients in our program. We're not in a clinical environment. And so we help anybody with a neurological condition to regain mobility, to stand upright, to walk again, and to find that mobility within themselves so they too can be hopeful. And we give the gift of 2 or 3 physical therapy sessions per week and access to cutting edge technologies that are only found in the top rehabilitation centers in the world. And here it is in our small community, and it's all given freely or for next to nothing. And so that's what Bridging Bionics is. I was asked to be a test pilot for a company 13 years ago. Originally, it was Berkeley Bionics, and they engineering geeks. There were only engineers, no clinical team, no physical therapists. They flew me out and asked me to demo and test pilot a bionic exoskeleton suit for National Geographic Television. I was given 3 days to master and perfect this, and I did it.
What's it like? And talk to me about. Talk to me about that first moment where you actually stood up and you were able to walk. What was that like?
I had been sitting for 18 years. 18 years, and to be able to stand up in one powerful moment and look at the world from a different perspective, to look at someone eye to eye and not up at their nostrils or at their belly buttons, to be able to have a delicious heart-to-heart hug. When someone hugs me in the wheelchair, there's something, there's a disconnect. To hug standing up and to look across the room at the tops of things, but then to take a step and to feel, even though I was in a robot, Ben, the robot took my paralyzed body and helped me move through space over ground with my knees bending, and I could feel my body shifting its weight, planting the foot firmly on the ground, and then taking another step. And when I knew that I could determine the course that I wanted to go and the direction, I could walk anywhere. And there was such magnificence and beauty in that moment. It lives with me to this day.
What's the future like for exoskeletons? I mean, how far can you, how often would you wear one? Are we reaching a point where you may always be able to wear one and just go down to the local store? I mean, what level are they at the moment?
I still feel like they're very much rehabilitative, and to help someone get back to walking, get back to being upright, to move their body through space, to have the world going by you and to get that proprioceptive feedback It helps with mental clarity and a whole lot of things in your body. But to have it become a daily tool, that's a dream. And I imagine the transformer where I could be in my wheelchair and it would just power me up and transform into a robot and I could go walking. I still feel like we're quite a long ways away from that. It's kind of like stem cell therapy. I feel like, we're on the precipice. We're in this new era of technology. And like I said before, celebrating human ingenuity to enable someone to live a better quality of life, yet to have it be a daily thing. There are exoskeletons out there all over the world that are being manufactured to help us walk outside over uneven terrain in our own shoes, to walk up steps and up slopes and down hills. But to have it a daily tool that we could use, we're still a ways away.
More of our conversation right after this.
Bridging Bionics, and I've seen some incredible videos, by the way, of the vast, incredible, different kind of people who come to you and how you help them out. And actually, people should go and look at the videos on that website. And by the way, they should all donate money, of course, to Bridging Bionics, because you're absolutely amazing what you do. But you must also be one of the people who comes, one of the first people to speak to newly paralyzed people or people who've recently had, accidents like this. And I wonder what that's like. When you speak to someone who's just gone through something like this and they are at that very beginning, what do you tell them? What do you talk to them about? How do you will them on?
Well, it's a balance. I've done that, and I've actually, people in our community, Mackenzie Langley, who was paralyzed when she was 16 from a car accident, she's just gone on to create, she's amazing. She's gone on to create her own business and a nonprofit, but I went down to her hospital room and I met her when she was just newly injured. I've done it with several individuals in our program, and to somehow let them know that life goes on. And I think I've taken a step back. I feel like you've got to allow for time for healing to take place and for that mental to kind of catch up with the physical. Yet with our program, what I love the most, of course, is getting someone who's newly injured and to give them that element of hope and to say, okay, let's see, you're in this critical window of neuro-recovery, and let's see how far we can take it with you, and to give you that opportunity to stand up and to move your body and to try so many different interventions so that we could give the body maximum optimal potential to recover, and for that neuroplasticity to kick in and to remember it's all there, it's in our cells. And we just have to tap into that and allow the body to move. And so that's what we do. And we've seen because of enabling individuals in our community to have access to ongoing physical therapy. And that's what's unusual about our program. We've seen recovery and neuro-recovery take place, but with our healthcare system in the United States, private insurance, Medicare, Medicaid, they cover 16 sessions or 8 weeks of physical therapy. And then they say, okay, go home to your community and get on with life. I mean, we are here into perpetuity. People are in our program. We've had people in our program for 8 years, and we're still seeing recovery. Tim Burr, who was paralyzed in the backcountry skiing as a cervical spinal cord injury, he's gone on to create his own nonprofit, giving back to others, called Return to Dirt. And he this kid is phenomenal, but all he wanted to do was drive again. And now he can drive again. He's got return of his biceps, his triceps. He can transfer on his own. And we're still seeing progress after 8 years. So neuro-recovery is really slow, but we celebrate every incremental movement that comes back.
What is missing the most? Like, what is there a big change that needs to happen, either at governmental level or societal level, that you think would really help move this forward?
I think the medical system. I've always said, don't settle for life as it is. Become the CEO of your own health care. Step in, take charge, look for new interventions and technologies out there, and be hopeful. There's reason to be hopeful. And so I feel like, through Bridging Bionics, yes, we're a charitable organization. We depend on donations, and because we're literally giving the gift of mobility, we fund it. Every physical therapist gets paid, full transparency, $75 an hour for their time, and then we'll calculate that, and we're already into the millions. We've gifted more than 18,000 physical therapy sessions to our athletes in our program. And so I feel like if individuals have an opportunity to keep moving their bodies and to not just go home and sit, but to dwell in possibility, and to stand up for themselves, to use that metaphor.
Yeah. Amanda, thank you so much for speaking with me today. Thank you for all the good you do for so many different people. And again, if anyone's listening, Bridging Bionics, look them up on the internet. You are really helping to save lives, young and old, across the whole spectrum. So Amanda, thank you for speaking to me today. It's been a great honor.
I really thank you, and I applaud you. And, we all have a little bit of hero within each of us. I feel like a hero, the definition is the intersection of the ordinary and the extraordinary. And we all have that within us. We're all heroes, and we can tap into that too. And you're a shining example. So thank you.
Well, it's been the greatest joy about doing this podcast is meeting so many of them, and you realize how many are out there, how many people are heroes, people in every single community. It's what makes us so strong. So,
that comes back to kindness, I think, and to giving back, serving, and love for one another. And that's the bottom line.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Amanda.
Thank you.
In many ways, that was quite a personal interview for me, because I think Amanda really described well what it's like to go through, those kind of injuries, things and injuries that are with you for life. And she was very open. And I think we all have to be open that this is, she's going through something that will forever be difficult. And it's about learning how to live with that, but not just learning how to live with that. What she really displayed best was that you take that and you spread on all the goodness and the hope to other people. And she's done that herself, and that she's done it as part of a community by working together. And as she said right at the end there, when you take everything else away, we can talk about the discomfort, we can talk about the exoskeletons or the wheelchairs or how people might look at you or what is difficult in your life. All of that is secondary to the kindness and the community of others. And I've heard a few people say that when they are going through some of the hardest times, it is often by helping other people that it makes them feel better. And so don't think for a second that, by helping someone in a little way, that doesn't help them a lot. So, just for today, go out, help anyone you see who needs help, be reminded that it helps them in such a great way. And that's just someone who might be who might need help crossing the road, or it might be someone who needs help in a wheelchair, whatever it is. That's going to help in a great way. And if you have a chance, go and look at some of the videos from Bridging Bionics. You see some of the most incredible, uplifting videos of people walking for the first time, that look in their eyes as they realize that there are no holds for them, that they can go on and do anything. And that's perhaps what technology is also now giving back into recovery. So we are in the breaking stages of new technology and AI, and it is going to help a lot, but it's going to do so because so many people want to help it as well. So thank you so much for listening today. What a great pleasure that was for me, and I hope it was for you as well.
Thanks for listening to Searching for Heroes. Listen ad-free with a Fox News Podcasts Plus subscription on Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Prime members can listen to this show ad-free on the Amazon Music app.